What's going on, guys? Patch here. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin pumping, altcoins dumping, and this key level which, if Bitcoin breaks, gives us a huge chance of seeing $15,000, maybe even $20,000 sooner than we thought. But before we get started with that, I do want to highlight to you guys one thing. Now remember, this green line that I was talking about was the last take profit for the trade that I've been in ever since like the 10th of July. This trade we were in way longer than we wanted. We were waiting after Bitcoin, was starting to consolidate, waiting for that breakout. You guys heard me talk about it for probably weeks at this point, since it was the 10th of July, at least for over a week. And then we had this breakout come in from the pattern. Bitcoin shot up. We hit all of our targets. The fourth target, the last target, was this green line. And as you can tell, Bitcoin exploded from there. So that's why we got the green lights in the background. Green lights for money, green lights for profit, because this has been absolutely insane, especially the fact that a lot of this pump took place on the weekend, which is usually a time where a lot of people stay away because of lower volume and because of the increased uncertainty. But if you guys want to make sure you don't miss out on these opportunities, you feel like you're missing out, you want to take part in these trades, but you don't know what you're doing, you don't have time for technical analysis, you don't really know how to trade for yourself, then make sure you check out the first link down below in the description. I post every single one of the trades that myself and my team enters in this group. So combine years and years of experience doing this successfully. We post every single one of our trades. So if you are a complete beginner, like I said, or if you don't have time, you don't know how to do technical analysis, you can copy our trades. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to set up, and after that, profits are taken automatically for you. So it becomes really passive. We have all of our altcoin trades, all of our leverage trades, and the #1 community in the cryptocurrency space. And as always, for 2 weeks, for 14 days, you get a completely risk-free trial. You will see every trade that we enter in the next 2 weeks from you joining. Every single trade that we enter for 2 weeks. And if for some reason, no questions asked, you don't like it, no matter what, you can simply cancel and you will avoid getting charged. So it's as simple as that. A ton of you guys were in the group, a ton of you guys joined, a ton of you guys were in that trade all the way back from July 10th. So congratulations to you. And if you weren't in that group, then I look forward to seeing you guys there now. So let's go back into Bitcoin and take a look at what's going on. First of all, remember those targets that we talked about. Remember the resistances where we talked about, around about here at 9.8K, we had some resistance. We saw multiple touches over and over again. And Bitcoin didn't really care. We saw 1 wick close roughly around there. So again, it highlights the fact that we did have a resistance at this level. But from there, Bitcoin just had a huge explosion upwards. And if you look at this, I personally could say that I expected us to have a little bit more of a touch to the EMA ribbon before this huge explosion coming in. But that's where the whole weekend thing I was talking about came in. So the weekend is usually a time with lower volume, a lot more volatility because of that lower volume. And it's a lot easier to move the price. I'm not gonna say manipulate, but it's a lot easier to move the price with less money because on weekends, like I said in general, usually we see less volume. So these are actually, I'm not surprised that we were able to see these moves. I'm more surprised at the fact that they usually don't happen during the weekend. But I'm assuming most of us are not upset at this because Bitcoin going from where it was before, 9,000, all the way up to touching 10,000, almost $10,500 on this chart. If you're holding Bitcoin, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys are, that's a very, very good move. But what lies ahead for Bitcoin? What exactly are we looking at right now? Well, if we zoom out, we can actually see we are at a very important level going on right now. Over here, multiple touches previously of this resistance several times over and over again. And that's the big area that Bitcoin hasn't been able to break yet, the $10,500 mark. 10,500 has been an area a lot of people are looking at because we say we want to break above 10,000. That's the 5-figure, psychological barrier. But it's shown time and time again that between 10,000 and 10,500, it seems that a lot of people secure profit, a lot of people sell. So that ends up being a very strong resistance holding the price down. So we want to see that $10,500 break, which is roughly around here. We want to see this area break, a confirmed break. We want the volume to come in there as well, because that would bring us into an area, again, like I mentioned before, with different with Bitcoin and different altcoins, of a lot less volume. We've been in this area a lot fewer times recently, right? So that means that during this part where we have a lot of price movement, we have a lot more supports and resistances and a lot of volume at different levels. Meanwhile, a break above $10,500, you see we haven't had recently that much movement in that area. And then when you look at the movement that we've had, we see a lot of just big movements up and down because of that lack of volume in that area. The lack of supports and resistances means that we could see some pretty big moves. Now, obviously, you guys remember the recent earlier in the year, 26th of June, 2019. not the year, around 1 year ago. You guys get what I'm trying to say. Around 1 year ago, we had them move up almost to $14,000. Again, a break above this would be a great start for us to start trekking upwards, but there is one thing that we need to know before we get overconfident on that break. Take a look at the CME futures gap. Now, the reason I want to talk about the CME futures gap, we haven't looked at this chart in a long time because there hasn't really been any need to, at least in my opinion, for us to bring up this chart. However, you guys know, especially on the daily time frames, the CME futures gaps usually get filled sooner rather than later. They fill 99.9% of the times that it seems, right? Almost every single one, if not every single one, has been filled, and they tend to fill sooner rather than later. Now, I've said this for, at this point, years we've been looking at this chart, and we've used it as a very good point of, potentially capitalizing on a trade in this gap. Now, you guys can see previous attempts, right? Just to give you guys an idea for those of you who are new, we had that gap. A few days later, Bitcoin closed the gap. We had the gap. Obviously, this took a little bit longer, but we came back up, we filled the gap. You guys get what I'm trying to say? It fills a majority of the time. Same thing here, look, gap, and then boom, we instantly, the next few days, came back down, or within a week or two, we came back down and we filled that gap. So now we have this gap coming in here, and what a lot of people are focusing on is the fact that, do we want to break $10,500, get to $11,000, $12,000, $13,000, and then have that big drop up into filling this CME futures gap, or would it just be better if we were to have that cool off, come back down, would test the EMA ribbon again, for example, right? Fill the CME futures gap and then move its way on up from here. So before we get overconfident on the break happening right now, let's focus on the fact that we might see this come into play as well. Of course, as always, I'm just going to be looking at the important levels. The important levels right now to me, $10,500. We want to see that break. It's testing this area of strong resistance again multiple times before. We want to see that break come in so we can see that higher and higher prices, but we do want to keep an eye out as well on this CME futures gap. Good news is it fills roughly at around 9,600, so it's not that big of a drop, especially compared to the pump we've had. It's a little bit of a correction, a little bit of a cool off before we do hopefully come back down, test that, and then continue on its way up. And for those of you looking to enter, guess what? Same thing. Looking at the bottom of the gap, looking where the gap could get filled, might be a pretty solid opportunity for us to actually make a good entry, either on a long trade if you're using Bybit or BitMEX, or if you're just buying and holding on a regular exchange. This would be an area where I would look to pick up Bitcoin if it does come back down to. Now, a big shout out to another YouTuber, Crypto, showing this graph of Bitcoin's very long-term patterns that it's had, right? You can see the resistance up here, the support down here, and you can see that this pattern's played out multiple times before in multiple different halvings usually, right? That's what these lines here represent. And usually once we see that break above this pattern, that's when that exponential bull run, just the huge price surge comes in. And he's saying right now, based off the graphs, you can see where the lines were drawn. You can see the support, the clear resistance. As of right now, we are at that point. We're at that point of the resistance where if we break above this, and we see that we need a lot more volume to come in. We need a lot more confirmation to come in for a pattern this big on this big of a time frame. This is the weekly, I believe, but either way, on this big of a time frame, we do want to see a lot of things backing it up. The volume, multiple candle breaks, maintaining above that level. But if we are actually breaking above this, based on past trends, based on history, you guys start to see what happens, right? A huge run up following that. So that's something, again, we want to watch out for. Look at the CME futures gap, look at the resistance that Bitcoin's facing right now, and then look at the long-term potential of Bitcoin breaking this level and what that could mean for everybody who's involved. So good time to be involved, good time to be buying Bitcoin, at least in my opinion. I've showed you guys the levels. I gave you guys, if you guys want to follow my trades, again, first link down below in the description. But with Bitcoin pumping, we are seeing a lot of altcoins take a dump. Now, I wanted to come in here especially to talk about this and give you guys a little bit of an, if you're holding altcoins, it's okay. This stuff happens. Cardano's down 9%, Chainlink's down 10%, Tezos down 10%, Stellar's down 9%. Where's VeChain? VeChain's down 11%. Neo's down 5%. Usually what happens, I don't know what this one is, but it's down almost 17%. Usually what happens is this is the money flow, right? A lot of the times there's a money flow into Bitcoin and altcoins, and there's a pattern as to how that works. When Bitcoin is seeing these huge moves to the upside, especially when it's like really quick and it's instantaneous, just a huge move to the upside, that's where we usually see money leaving altcoins to jump into Bitcoin, FOMO into Bitcoin, altcoins dump, Bitcoin pumps even more. That's where we see these, $1,000 moves in a matter of a couple of hours or a couple of days. Usually if Bitcoin's making steady progress up, you'll see altcoins also start to have altcoin seeds, and you'll see them move a little differently. But when these huge moves come in, usually we see the opposite effect from Bitcoin happen to the altcoin. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. Again, for everybody who wants to get into altcoins, now might be a pretty good time to dollar cost average in if you wanted to, if you were looking for the opportunity. Bitcoin having a huge 5% move. Obviously 5% doesn't sound a lot, but for Bitcoin, it's actually pretty big, especially on the 24-hour chart. It's pretty big. If you were to use a 10x leverage, that's 50% profit if you caught this move, right? Absolutely insane. Nobody should complain with a 50% profit, but that's what I'm trying to say. If altcoins are falling and you're looking to dollar cost average in, now would be a perfect time to do so on some of your favorite altcoins. And if Bitcoin continues to pump, if altcoins continue to drop, you can then dollar cost average again, and you're just going to bring your average price down instead of timing the market. I've talked about this plenty of times before on this channel, and that's the number one way investors actually get in a position at a good price versus trying to time the bottom, because you're going to get it wrong 99.9% of the time. Now, this actually came in, it was pretty interesting. I wanted to ask your guys' opinions. Bitcoin has only a 30% chance of breaking $17,000 this year, according to this estimate. Now, 20 to 30%, $17,000 like a 70% move, right? To be fair, in the last few months of the year, the second half of this year, 70% is huge. But I wanted to ask your guys' thoughts. Do you think Bitcoin has a chance of hitting $17,000 by the end of 2020? So in the last half of this year, do you think we have a chance of breaking, or do you think we are going to? Obviously we have a chance, but do you think we are going to break that $17,000, or at least test that $17,000 mark? I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the description, and then at the end of the year we can check back in and see which one of you were right and see which one of you were wrong and make some fun out of it. So again, let me know in the comments down below your guys' thoughts on this. Personally, it's a 70% move. I want to say if Bitcoin actually does break above those resistances and we see that parabolic move that we've seen historically, then 70% is nothing, right? We've seen 2x's in a day, right? If you were in 2017, if you're in the bull run, then you've seen some crazy price movements. 70% sounds like a lot. We're going to have to wait and see. It's going to depend a lot on if we repeat the patterns previously and if we do actually break above these key resistance levels. That's the main thing that's holding us back. The resistances are obviously what's holding us back. Those are the main levels we want to look at. If they break, then of course the possibility is there. So that's my thoughts on it. Can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. Again, as always, if you did enjoy the video, leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on this and anything else you guys want to see more of in the future in terms of content. And then as always, make sure you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell next to it as well to get notified every time we upload a new video, so you can stay updated with everything to do with the Bitcoin price, altcoins, and how to maximize your gains from this market. Guys, thank you so much for watching. See you guys on Wednesday for another video.